people in Brazil.
All right, there we go. Great personality test. I love that. My next person is going to be Alan, followed by Frank.
Alan, me.
Yep.
I'm Alan Badiger. I'm in Plano, Texas, just north of Dallas. I'm sort of slipping in here for a little bit today. You didn't want to ask the question, how are weeks going? This is my week. I'm filling in for one person that quit, one person that's in the hospital, and doing the Plano Balloon Festival this week. I handle communications and weather watching for the Balloon Festival. So I'm in between shifts at the Balloon Festival. I got home late last night to sleep for a little bit, and I'm on my way back out the door here in a little bit.
Yeah.
For tonight's see, I don't think we're doing launches tonight. We've got skydiving tonight, and a symphony concert and some other things, but I've got to watch the weather, which we have moving in. I'm responsible for watching the weather for the festival for 50 to 70,000 of our closest friends.
Mhm.
So they sort of keep over my shoulder when we've got potential weather. As far as websites, I haven't been doing much website development lately because I've had all this other stuff suddenly pile on for the last month. And website development has sort of fallen off the bottom of the stack. Hopefully I'll get back to it. I've got a couple websites I got to get moved fairly quickly. One of which is an ancient Joomla 1.5 site using several add-ins that no longer exist. They're abandonware. The companies that made them quit supporting them. So basically I'm looking at a rewrite of those sites.
All right. Thank you. I'm glad you fit us in between your events you have planned today. Frank, we're going to have you say hello. And then after Frank, we're going to hear from Ellen.
Hi, I'm Frank. I'm in California, in Oxnard, which is Ventura County. And my most recent new client, was a small educational organization in Arizona. And on the topic of pricing, they had checked with a designer who just quoted them way too high of a price for what the project warranted. And that person, in addition, wanted to do it in WordPress. And they wanted to hijack the site in that they would do all the updates, ongoing content updates, all that stuff. So they came to me, and I was able to do the project in Joomla, first of all, and then also do it for what the value of the project warranted, which was far less than what the other designer had charged. And I was able to do it under budget, and they're happy, and I'm in the process of teaching them how to do their own content updates. And if I could just say one other thing on the subject of pricing. Years ago, I read a book by Linda Weinman, who is the founder of lynda.com, now LinkedIn Learning.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a book on graphic design and web design. And she said the baseline for pricing that she uses is what's her time worth, what's the project worth to the client, and what the market will bear. And there are times when you can say, it's out of my service area, or I don't do that, instead of saying I can't do it. So I just wanted to also pass that along.
Great knowledge. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Ellen, and then Olivier.
Hi, I'm Ellen Rothwax from Fairfield, Connecticut. Most of my projects right now are migrating from Joomla 3 to Joomla 4. But I did get a new client, thanks to Robin, who referred somebody to me. I thought I was just helping them with something, but it turned out they really wanted me to do the website for them. So it's enabling me to really get to know UTheme Pro much better, just because I'm working with it a lot now. And it's benefiting both of us. So it's worked out great. Thanks, Robin.
You're welcome. Olivier, and then Pat.
Hi, I'm Olivier Brizard, and I live in New York. Sorry about my voice. I'm losing it today. I don't know why. I ending my journey as a release manager for Joomla 4.3.
Thank you for all your hard work.
Yay, Olivier.
So I haven't been pursuing any new clients lately because I was so busy with all that stuff, trying to now get back on track with just the extensions already. So and especially that Joomla 5 is coming up. So I've been pretty busy with that. So no new clients, just my regular ones that I keep maintaining, and that's it for now.
Wonderful. Pat and then Joe.
Okay, I'm Pat Vanden Bosch, and I live in Perry County, Tennessee. And if you'd have to find it, west of Linden. We're about an hour and a half out of Nashville, so I'm excited about the J-Day USA going to be there this year. As to new clients, I haven't had a new client for over a year, but I'm not worried about it because I am looking at, in fact, I've already lost one client that went with another program for selling used cars, and they went with somebody that handled that vertical market. So they felt they'd get more cars sold, I guess. And there was another one, and it is a chamber of commerce around here, but not my county, who, well, let me back up. Last time that we had the speaker who talked about setting a monthly fee for maintenance and so forth, and then they would own the website and all that. Well, I took a page out of that book, and I have been doing all my billing, annual billing, which starts in September, and converting them to where they get an annual bill in September for things like license fees and expenses that I make the customer pay for. And then I set them up with a maintenance plan and said it's open-ended. You can cancel it at any time, but every month I'm going to send you an invoice for so much money. And now I can say that how much money I'm actually been leaving on the table, about $12,000 a year.
Nice.
Yeah. And I've got, like, the county, I do 4 websites for them, but it's like the same thing for all of them. I just change calendar information. And the county is now paying me the equivalent of $6,000 a year that I was losing because I wasn't being willing to step up and say, hey, I'm worth it.
Yes, I love it.
You know, that, and I said, you haven't got anybody else in the county that can do this, but that's not why I'm doing it. I'm not doing it because I want to rip you off. I'm doing it because I want to be compensated for what I have been doing. Yeah. And the mayor said, you're absolutely right. You got it. So I was thrilled that we had that discussion last time, and really took it to heart and changed my business. What do they call it? Your business format. But now if somebody says, well, how much? I now know I have my thumb on it because every month I'm sending out invoices. And sometimes I'm glad that my first job ever was a bill collector for Sears and Roebuck. So having to follow up and remind people to send their money in. But that and converting my 3.x sites to 4.0, that's all I've been doing is just going through a metamorphosis.
You get it. We all are. Thank you, Pat. That's very inspirational. Joe and then Richard.
I'm Joe Semi. I'm about 90 minutes from Niagara Falls, New York, in a city called Guelph, Ontario, which is also about 1 hour west of Toronto, so in between Niagara Falls and Toronto. So my newest client is actually an old client, and this is kind of exciting because they actually got me to redo a WordPress site into Joomla previously. And actually this person was someone that sat in on a OS training session that I did many years ago. And so this is a Joomla person, Joomla centric, and today I need to actually exit the meeting right after the intro, so because I have to do some urgent stuff with regards to that. But I wanted to be here because I needed to settle a question regarding our presenter today. I want to know about the O in the name. So is it Owen or Ian? What will you settle this question for me? Is it Owen or Ian?
I
Who is
settle this question every 4 hours of my day, I'd say. It's actually pronounced Owen, but you can blame
It's
my mum,
Owen,
who's
okay.
Irish, for the spelling.
So it's
Gotcha.
Owen
Thank you.
and
Yeah, you know, and I've been vacillating between the two different pronunciations because I've heard both, right? And I'm going, I don't know. But now we got it from the horse's mouth. Thank you, Owen. I will never call you Ian ever again. And
as you might have noticed, I'll answer to Ian or Eon or any other combination of guesses at this point.
It's like, yeah, exactly. Anyways, that's me. I'm Joe.
thanks, Joe. Richard and then Kevin.
Hello, everybody. Yeah, my name is Richard Gosler. I'm a web developer based in Bournemouth, which is on the south coast of England. Two big projects which I've just completed. One was a complete rebuild of my own sites, moving it from Joomla 3 to Joomla 4 and new versions of everything. I'm very happy with it. And the other big new client, which we just completed the sites about a month ago, is the world's best-selling string quartet. They're called Bonds. You might have heard of them. It's four very kind of glamorous ladies. It's an electric string quartet. They've been going about 20 years, and they were kind of put together as a kind of classical Spice Girls.
Oh.
Anyway, they contacted me because they didn't want their management managing stuff, so they had this ancient WordPress site. So I said, let's just rebuild it completely in something nice. So obviously it's Joomla. And I encouraged them to add e-commerce to it so they could sell some merch. And in the month that it's been live, they've completely paid for the entire build from selling signed CDs. So they are very happy with that.
Oh, very nice. Kevin and then Laura.
Hey, I'm Kevin. I'm from Lancaster, Pennsylvania. I don't have any major clients at the moment, though I'm always on the lookout. I'm a student right now, so that's my primary focus. I've been working with Joomla as a hobby for many years, and I actually started with Mambo. I like producing educational content related to Joomla, like tutorials and videos, and I've been learning more about developing components lately. So happy to be here. Thanks.
Oh, thanks for coming, Kevin. I think I saw some of his videos, and I said, "Why are you coming to our group? You're right in Pennsylvania." So I invited him. Laura, and then Mike.
Hi, everybody. I'm Laura Gordon. Been working on websites for some time now. My newest client is actually a client that I built an HTML website for in like 2005 or 6, and then he went to Joomla in 2009. I migrated them to 3 in like 2013 or something like that. Haven't heard from them at all in 10 years. And when I was just going through clients, I didn't know if they switched, users, whatever. Like they didn't want to pay maintenance anymore. So I was like, okay, you're on your own. I sent them an email and I said, so I see your site's still in Joomla 3. Do you want to upgrade it? And it just happens to be that they just hired a marketing person that had no idea how to work with the website. And she's like, Laura, it was like manna from heaven, right? Like just that you happen to call me right at the time when I was just trying to figure out how to do this. So so I'll be starting on that next week. It's just a migration of 4, but they're going to redesign and all this. So it's kind of fun. It's a manufacturing company. They make sludge pressers, like really big machines that squish water out and do, I don't know. Anyway, so you never know when you make that phone call. So go through your list of old people, and for Anna, that person will come back. I can't tell you how many people I've given a proposal for. Mountainside Library was one in 2013, and 8 years later they came back to me. So you never know. Just always be honest and be yourself, because if I gave them, like, if I lowballed it, that wouldn't have worked, right? And when I redid it, I actually upped the price a little bit, and now I'm still working with them. So, and then the new director of that library was the director of a library for a Joomla website that I did 15 years ago. So you never know, like, where the web leads. So always be kind, be true to yourself, and trust me, they will be back. Yeah. Anyway, and I just want to throw something out really quick to the group, and please comment in the chat, but we got to focus on the meeting. we're working on Joomla Day USA. Robin and I just met with someone. We're hoping to do this in Tennessee, in Nashville, in Cool Springs. Actually, we found a really neat location, but we are considering shifting it a bit and doing it on Thursday and Friday instead of Friday and Saturday. And I know some people may be really excited about that. It could save us a significant amount of money, but I just wanted to throw that out there because typically Joomla days are on Saturdays, but that doesn't mean we have to be on a Saturday. So, you know, a lot of people, if you're working for a living, you're working on Joomla, attending the event is part of your work. So it wouldn't mean you're taking a day off per se. So throw your thoughts in the chat. We haven't decided yet, but we're going to meet with our committee to really talk about it. But it would be hybrid, so you could participate virtually. So Thursday, and plus we'd have fewer rooms, which would mean we would have more sessions on both days instead of all the sessions on one day, which is what we've done in the past. Thursday would have like 4 or 5 sessions. We'd start a little later on Thursday. And then Friday would be sessions all day. And then we would do some kind of fun event on Saturday, similar to what we did in Austin, like some kind of get together. We did so anyway, just throwing that out there. Throw your see, I prefer weekdays, so that this could work. There would be a maximum number of people of 50, so we will cap out. We will top out at 50. So that's a discussion too. But we had 36 last time. So my hope for this year would be 50, but we would have to cap at 50. So anyway, thank you.
I'm excited. I'm going. Mike and then Lisa.
I'm Mike Kreitzer. I grew up in Los Angeles. I'm currently also living in Ventura County. My new client is also a very old client of like 15 years ago. I built their site. It's currently in Joomla 3. I used what was the name of the company? They went out of business for the template, Vietnamese company, Joomla Shine, I think. So it's going to be a complete rebuild into 4, but it's a small site, so it's not a big deal. And I'm also going to be redesigning their logo. And that's it.
I love it. Lisa and then Liam.
Hi, sorry I was late. I had to do a tech check for one of my clients for a webinar I'm running for them this afternoon. My name is Lisa Kaiser. I am in Virginia, a little south of Washington, D.C. And I guess the question is, if you have a new
latest client, what's your newest client?
Newest client. I don't know if I have a newest client from this year, at least. I'm one of those who does a lot of repeat business as well. So where, you know, you take the old things and make them new again. I do have a couple outstanding proposals and requests for proposals from new clients. One of which is an HOA, which I keep swearing I'm never going to work with HOAs again. I have an HOA website, Joomla site, that is been under development since 2021. It's still not launched yet because we're waiting for their photographer to finish their pictures up. So, right. It's just, it's a hot mess. And I've been working with them since 2014. So it's just fun times. But with this new HOA, I basically doubled the price of the last HOA website with the thought in mind that it's going to be, God knows how long it will take. But they're not technically a new client yet because they haven't signed. I did launch 2 websites in September so far, which is a lot for me. I do more maintenance and tech support stuff than I do website launches. One of them was a redo Joomla site that actually, funny story, it was in Joomla when they came to me back in 2013. So it's been 10 years. I didn't build it. I helped them maintain it and update it. They went with their original developer and moved to Laravel for a couple years and then hated it. They had him put it back in Joomla, but he did a terrible job. So, and then I was maintaining it. And then finally I got to redo it in Joomla 4 and it launched earlier this month. And yeah, I think that was a quick, easy, great project. I have a ton of J3 websites I still have to upgrade and just very busy. So I'm glad I could be here. I missed several meetings because I've been working so much. So happy to be back.
Good thing. Liam and then Mary. Liam, you wanna pass, or do you want me to come back to you? Okay, Mary, you able to say hello?
I am. I'm in Washington State on the West Coast. And I have several repeat new clients that have come back to me with new projects. So that's very exciting. And I have a brand new client who's just signing this week, who's doing they have a charity for veterans. So I've been really busy, and I woke up early this morning and went, wow, I can make the meeting. Yay. So here I am.
Oh, good. Mark and then Stacy. Mark, are you able to say hello? I'm saying hello to Liam. He's only texting. And Stacy, are you able to say hello? We might have a few just listening today. Oh, and Stacy just raised her hand. You want to say hello, Stacy? Yes.
Yes. Hello. I'm
Hi.
a recent transplant to Texas from Seattle area. Hello, my friend up there in Western Washington. Yes, I have a new client. It's a large custom home builder here in Bryan College Station, and I've been having a lot of fun with them. I started in Mambo many years ago. I built my first website when my kids were little in 1995 and 96. And here I am. I'm still here. I'm very glad to find all of you. I used to be a part of the North Seattle Joomla users group, and we would meet together in Canyon Park in Bothell. I miss them so much. I wish there was a group here in College Station area, but I'm glad to find you. I currently have about 25 websites, and I'm trying to migrate all of them from Joomla 3. I'm so glad to hear I'm not the only one that's doing that.
Yeah, we're in it together.
And let's see if I can get I don't know how to make the video work, but anyway, that's what I'm doing.
That's perfectly fine.
Oh, there we go. I can say hi. Hi, everybody.
Hello.
So I'm a grandmother, and I do a bunch of nonprofit also and work on those. But it's only been this year that I've actually made decent money doing some sites. And I think it's just because, I don't know, changing me, changing Joomla, I don't know. But during the day, I work at a car dealership. So here I am at the car dealership, and I do their website. Nice. And you can come and visit it anytime. You can find it online really easily. And that's been a challenge. And it's been a challenge to go from 3 to 4. I did pay someone from Nigeria to help me. Big mistake. Big mistake. But I'm learning just like everybody else. So thank you for letting me say hello. Hi, everybody.
Hi. Eoin, you want to say hello real quick and answer the questions?
Hello, I'm Eoin. I'm from London, and my latest client is a software project which probably won't be built in Joomla. They distribute wine and alcohol, so they need like a stock control system to be able to give accurate reporting to their clients who use them for the distribution.
Wonderful. And my name is Robin Clapp, and with the help of Joe and Richard, we run this jug every month. And I also volunteer my time on J-Day USA planning because I love that event, going on our 4th year. We are 100% legit now. And my latest client is a manufacturer also, Laura. They design foam. They're a foam manufacturer for all your items that fit into boxes. They create the foam. I don't know. So I'm excited about it. It's local in Rhode Island and referred through another partner of mine. Okay, Anne's gonna go next. She's our 10-minute presenter, and you have the floor to do with whatever you want, and I'll just give you a little heads up when we have 60 seconds left, and then we're going to finish with a presentation from Eoin. Now that we know.
Thank you. I'm Ann Notarthomas, and I apologize if I start coughing. I'm coming off of COVID. and the cough is kind of unpredictable. But as far as new client, I'm hoping who's going to be my new client. I got a message yesterday from one of my clients that I inherited. It was a WordPress site. It's a art conservators, and the two owners are getting, I think they're in their late 80s, maybe one of them's in their 90s, and they have turned the organization over to a nonprofit. And I'm not quite sure how that's all going to work, but the board of that new nonprofit contacted me yesterday to see if I could start making some adjustments to the site. So I'm hoping that they will continue to be clients for me. My last Joomla website new client is a local business. It's one that approached me probably, I don't know, 8 years ago, and they wanted me to do a WordPress site, and it didn't work out. But he called me last November, said he was happy to hear I was still around, and I convinced him that Joomla would work. He had a site that was broken all over the place. And so he was an audio-visual company. They rent the equipment, but they also do the lighting and sound for big events, our local symphony and things like that. So that's my my newest clients. So I thought I would go through kind of a talk about how I got to Joomla, how I got through technology, because I was a music major in college, and at my school, it was a good music ed school, but also a good performance school, and they focused on performance more than education. And so I got to my senior year and was like, holy crap, I don't want to do this. What do I do now? Because, I did pretty well, but performance, isn't in my future at all. And I just didn't want to do the education. So I finished out, graduated, and then hit the library saying, what do? I didn't know anything about the business world. I didn't know what was out there. So I pulled some books in the library. I learned about accounting. I learned about different things, but I needed to make some money too. So I started teaching piano, but I also took on temp jobs that placed me in different organizations and businesses in the community. And I lucked out. I was placed in a large social services agency that I was helping out the receptionist at that point, but they were just starting a fundraising, really ramping up their fundraising. And they were bringing in their first computer system. And so they kind of let me, well, I lucked out too, because the person who they had hoped was going to work on that was pregnant and left and wasn't even there when the systems came in. So I was there. I got to work on this. It was a IBM mid-range system, a System 34. It was huge, but it only had 2 workstations, 2 green screens, and I was also the only person that had air conditioning in the building because it put off so much heat. They had to put in air conditioning in the office. I'm going to date myself as I talk through this. So I saw the opportunity. There was a consultant that was coming in. They had to do custom software because there was no software out there in the market to do this work on. So I went to Barnes and Noble and found a book about programming and learned enough to do some reports that kind of showed the staff there what could really be done with the system. So it kept going with the fundraising. One of the things we were doing was producing personalized letters, and we were running 10,000, 30,000 on basically an automatic typewriter. So all day long, I was listening to the doing these letters. And we had a large number of volunteers who came in every month, who folded them, stuffed them, got them ready to mail. So I spent a lot of time, and through my history there, I was always kind of half in fundraising and half in IT. So the next department they decided to put on this system was finance, which had 3 other people. We had to get 3 more of these workstations that at that time, which was a long time ago, cost $5,000 a piece. And we had to get a new system because the one that we had couldn't accommodate fundraising in the business office, which kind of blows my mind now. So at that time, they also invested in a state-of-the-art Mac system to do graphic artists for fundraising, graphic design for fundraising. And that thing cost $40,000. But they didn't have anybody who knew how to do anything. I played with it a little bit. And I can't tell you how many years went by before any of the graphic designers that they hired would even think about using this machine. So anyway, the fortunate thing is that the executive director was very forward thinking. When I got there, he had already been there 25 years. And he was on the edge of really exploding this organization. When I got there, it was just one building, but it had, a feeding program for the community and their clients. They had a detox center, they had an adult home, and they had thrift stores through the community. But when he came, he did building funds, and eventually there were 5 buildings on the campus. So I was part of how do we connect these all to this system. We again upgraded to then the IBM System 36. I remember being in the basement of that building with the cable that was the fiber that we connected the buildings with. And that the person that was actually doing that work, stripping it down and showing me the one tiny string of fiber that looked like a horsehair, and it was like, this is going to handle all the data going between this building and the other buildings, which just kind of blew my mind still when I think about it. So the next step was, we needed to start moving these workstations through the organization. And just to give you an idea about the CEO, he was very tight with money, which you can understand, a nonprofit, and he went through a lot of ups and downs over the years. And if we wanted paper clips, we had to find them on the floor. He wouldn't let us buy them. So that was part of my challenge, was how do I get technology start moving through this organization when I really don't, they'd invest in the main system, but they wouldn't invest in like the workstations. So at that time, businesses were just starting to get rid of those workstations and start putting PCs on people's desks. So we put our ear on the ground, listening for places like the city and the county and some of the larger businesses in the community were getting rid of these workstations. So we went knocking on the doors, and eventually I got 200 of these things, which, by the way, it took 2 people to lift them. But we got 200 that we could start putting out on people's desks. And that was an interesting thing too, because people didn't know how to type. They were nervous about the technology. Passwords. Why do we have to have these passwords? It was crazy. But we eventually got it through. The mid-range system had a word processor on it. So that was the main tool a lot of people were using. We eventually hired 2 real programmers, because I'm never going to be a real programmer. I just don't get into the details at that level and all the checks and everything you have to do. I knew enough to work with the programmers, but so because we had to develop all the software, there was none off the shelf, and even the things that were there had to really be modified, like the accounting systems and nonprofits. It's fund accounting, which isn't the same as what businesses use. So, you know, the programs, the social service programs, you know, hospitals and those that use that software, an awful lot of that is about the reimbursement, capturing all the information, but ultimately to get the reimbursements. Well, we weren't getting reimbursements. So nothing quite fit. So we had a couple programmers who were creating custom programs for us.
And 1 more minute. Okay.
So eventually, again, we had we upgraded again to the AS400, and we had to switch to the PCs because the word processor on that system was gone now, and that was one of the big applications besides the custom work. So this new system, actually, you could create virtual servers in it, and there was something called Citrix that actually let us load the Word operating system and the Microsoft Office application on it, and push it out to all these old PCs on everybody's desktop. So again, I went out and got all this free PC hardware. We're up to 300 people now, and we're able to get it. I got $100,000 grant from Microsoft, so we had the licenses for everybody, but we only had to install it on the server, and everybody had the most current version. So I'm going to go quick now to the new executive director comes in and calls this system a dinosaur. And he also started getting rid of everybody who had been there for a while, which included me. And I was kind of like, now what do I do? So I kind of landed on web design. I remembered that Mac thing that I tried years ago and kind of took to the graphic design and stuff. And so I checked out Drupal, couldn't make heads or tails of it. I tried WordPress, didn't love it. I don't know how I found Joomla, but I found Joomla and it really ticked with me. So so my first Joomla site, I think it was 1.0, which very quickly went to 1.5. And you know, all these groups and everything was how I learned. I went back to Barnes and Noble, found a book about Joomla. And but the one thing, when we keep hearing about Joomla disappearing, I'm always remembering that AS400 dinosaur, which is now the IBM I, in a power system that just celebrated its 35th year. So all these people that were saying it was going to disappear, it's still out there and going strong. And I'm thinking, this I hope is the root for Joomla too, that everybody's going to keep saying it's going to disappear, but in the long run, it's going to go strong because it's got really solid foundation and really works much better than the other tools. So that's my story.
And I am, there we go, back to gallery, and a very interesting one at that. Wow. Talk about starting in music and ending in Joomla. That was a great. Yeah. Next we have Eoin, and he's going to do a presentation for us. He can share the screen and take over, and as soon as he's finished up, we can ask some questions. Or
sure.
Be okay with questions during?
Yeah, I'm okay with questions during. If anyone has a question, just unmute and just ask me. If it gets off topic or carried on for a bit long, I'll maybe have a chat afterwards instead. But just jump in with your questions, and I'll do my best to answer them on the spot if I can. So to get started, this is 50 useful non-Joomla tools. So the idea of this is to help you guys, the agencies, to maybe become more profitable, think about some things that you could be charging for that maybe you haven't. I did this originally at Joomla Day USA, so you'll see that the date is beneath there, but it's going to be very similar. I've just updated it very slightly. So to get started, as I said, this idea is to help your business improve and be more profitable. So who am I and why you should listen to me? That's when I'm Ian or Eoin or whatever else you want to call me. I've been in for 15 years in business. I've got multiple businesses and I've been a Joomla user for most of those years. I tried WordPress back in the day before plugins were even available and decided on Joomla instead. If you want to screenshot that or take a picture, you're happy to connect with me. I'm very social, so happy to chat to anyone who has questions or wants to ask me any advice or just have a chat. It's at the bottom of the slides as well. Simply put, if you do more things, you could charge for more things that you do, right? So what are the things you could be doing? First of all, you can offer a better service and start with discovery and charge for that. Some of you are probably already doing it, but it's fair to say that most of my clients come to me and they don't really know what they want. And what they want is someone like me to tell them what they want. And that comes through discovery by asking them lots and lots of questions about what do they want, who are the customers, and all that sort of thing. And I can't really build a website unless I know what I'm building. So it's very hard for a customer to come to me and say, how much is a website? So discovery helps me to answer the question, what am I building? I can't price a website unless I know how many pages I'm building. And customers don't always know how many pages they need, and it leads to scope creep and stuff like that. And they don't always know what functionality either. So that's part of discovery. It helps to avoid that issue. It defines the scope very clearly, and it means that new pages are chargeable because you've gone through this process and it's very clear that they could have mentioned it at an earlier stage. So the simple things you can do to start is basically write sitemaps, wireframes, UX and UI and stuff like that. Now, you could tie a customer down to a specific number of pages once you've done it. I'm sure some of you do this anyway, but let's talk you through our process. Because it's something the customer can see and they can sort of touch and feel it, they don't mind paying for it normally. So one thing is you can use a Word doc or you can put it in your proposal. I used to just put bullet points. I'm going to do a home page, an about page and whatever else. And you can't really charge for that because it's just 5 bullet points on a page. The customer doesn't really see the value in paying for that. So what I do instead is I take a bit longer on it and I use a tool called Miro. You could use Google Drawing or Google Slides or PowerPoint or any of these tools. Miro has a free version, or it might be Miro, like Biro, I don't know. So it looks a bit like this, and this is what I do. I plan all of the pages, and so instead of just a few bullet points, I've done this process, which the customer can see. I've done more work, I can charge for it. This is what it looks like as a close-up, and you'll see there's no details. I've got my logo here. I've just got the word logo and a star. I've got some questions here about what content will be there, and there's going to be a contact form. And I just explained to the customers, here's where we're going to put some brands. We're going to put a contact form here, and we put the brands below it just to add a trust factor because it links to the contact form. If someone hasn't decided whether they want to use us or not, then the brand's trust factors may push them on the side of filling in that form. So I'm talking them through why I've positioned elements where, and I'm not talking them through design decisions, content decisions, or anything like that. I'm just getting some stuff signed off and a charge for that process. So what comes after wireframes is content. In our process, you can do whatever way you want to do it. I always suggest we write the content for the clients, and it's a billable item, which is obviously better for profit, but more importantly, I can control how long it takes to write. I have had previously clients take 2 years to supply me with content, which is not good for my profitability. I have to project manage that 2 years. I still have to call them and ask them for stuff. It's unbillable time, all those calls, so I don't like that at all. So I always suggest we can do it. We can't be an expert in every subject matter, so I'm not an expert mechanic and rocket designer and everything else. So I book in a Zoom call with my content team, and then we interview them and we write the content. So they are still the experts in the subject matter, but we write it and we use experts to write the content which they're not used to writing anyway. It's a much smaller time commitment, so someone's going to spend 15 minutes on the phone with me, and the client's likely to do that. But if I ask them to write all of the content, they may never turn up with it because it's an overwhelming job. And to be honest with you, they don't often know what they should write or why they should write it, and it's not really their fault. So with my experience. I help them to solve that problem, and it's a billable item, and it makes us more profitable, and it gets our projects quickly completed and on time, and makes them happy. And yes, you might have noticed that we've written content before the design, but yes, we do that. You can do whatever way you want. I like to write the content first and then design based on how much content there is. And the reason being, I don't really know if an electrician needs to write 7 pages about a light bulb or 300 words. I'd always encourage them to write a bit more words than that because of Google, but that's why I write the content first and then the design. So after that, we go into the design. And this isn't the mock-ups, this is much more graphical. And yes, we could build in tools like Utheme and the other builders very, very quickly in Joomla. But if we do that, we can't really charge for it because the customer thinks that's part of the build. And they like to feel involved and appreciate that the design team has done their site. So we have a design team that does it. And they appreciate their site is unique. It's not a template or something we've just copied off someone else, specifically made for them. And especially customers of a certain size, if you're bidding, other people will be providing this level of service. And quite frankly, if you aren't offering it, you won't win the deal because you will seem too small or that you're not following the proper process. So here's some of the tools we use. We use Penpot at the moment. It's free, it's open source, so we're supporting open source projects. But previously we used Figma, which is a very good tool. It's been bought by Adobe, so I feel like it's gone downhill a little. And Adobe XD is also a good tool, but since they bought Figma, I'm worried that they would phase that out. So started using Penpot. It isn't as good as Figma, if I'm honest with you, but it is improving all the time. So usually it's quite a bit quicker if I design something in Penpot and the client says, oh, I want to move this here and that there, than if I'm doing it on a website, especially if it requires some design consideration as to how are we going to make all these elements fit in this space. We're not, might not be as simple as just moving one section below another section. Plus the customers in Penpot and Figma, they can click comments and on the actual section. So I know they're talking about that bit specifically and not the bit below it on the page. So here's an example of what we might build in Penpot or Figma or something like that. As a close-up, you can see this is definitely more designed than the one in Miro where it's just wireframes. But we still have dummy content here, and we still have dummy images where the videos are going to go. So it doesn't have to be completely finished to get sign off because sometimes it could take time if the content's still being written or if the client's input is required on some content. But we could still get design sign off because it's just what it looks like. So then another thing to note is as part of our billing process, we invoice before each of these stages. So before we do the sitemaps, before we do the content, and before we do the designs, we're getting our money up front. So we're not charging the customer the whole project up front, but we are doing each upfront payment before we start that work. So if they don't pay, we can stop the project at that point. So we've got the 5 stages: discovery, sitemap, content, wireframes, mockups, and the build. Don't know why this slide is not before the others. Getting design off after the design stage or before the design stage helps us to manage cash flow too. So we're always getting a little bit of money after doing a little bit of work. And also, I used to get sign off at the end of a build. So the customer would see it and then give us feedback on it. And quite a lot of the time, they would take a long time to give us that feedback. Sometimes we'd have to wait like a few months because they're just busy. And what can I say to say? Get unbusy or whatever. So we have got it in our terms. You've got to feedback within a certain time, but it doesn't mean that they always do it. So at least we've been paid up front and we're not waiting for that. So next thing is the building. I've said that this talk is not going to be about how to build a website. It's about non-Joomla tools. So there are other great talks that can cover that. I know Elisa did a great one on Joomla Day USA on the Utheme. And since I'm only talking about non-Joomla tools, I'm going to talk about some that can help you with building that aren't exactly Joomla tools. So admin tools, not the Akiba one, but for project management, we use ClickUp. There's some other tools here. I've tried to just show some other examples in case you want to use them. We use ClickUp. It's very fast to use. That's why I like it. Very easy to use Teams in it as well. For communication, I use Slack. I hate emails, but Slack is really useful to keep all the discussions in one place. Some other suggestions too. We do use WhatsApp group for some clients who don't know about Slack really. For sales, we use Pipedrive. It's really, really useful. Pipedrive is a monthly subscription. There is Pipeline Pro, which is a one-off fee. They absolutely bombard you with emails and everything, so I'll warn you about that up front. But if you're cost focused, that is a slightly better option in terms of price. And we use better proposals. This allows us to know when a client has opened a proposal. So first thing we do is give them a call and say, hey, just checking if you've opened the proposal. We know that they have, and it's a great time to catch them and talk to them when they're thinking about the project, rather than just emailing it and never knowing. Although nowadays, what I normally do is present the proposal to them via Zoom or something like that, and then send it afterwards. So I can handle any objections about pricing. We talked about pricing earlier. If I'm on a call with someone and say, you know, it's going to cost £10,000, how does that fit with your budget? And they say, well, that's way more than I was expecting. We can have that conversation. If I just email it to them, they won't have the conversation with me. They might go look for another provider or something like that. Far better to talk to them and speak about the pricing face to face if you can. And obviously storage, I won't talk on it too much because I'm sure you're all using storage. We use CrashPlan, that's a very good one. It's very, very cheap. It monitors all my files and it backs them up instantly. So really good backup service. General admin, I use 1Password. I've got a small team and it allows us to share passwords. So if a client sends us their login for Facebook or something, we will have it in the shared vault in 1Password, which means if they change their password, we will change it in the shared vault and all of my team will still have access to it. So we haven't got, you know, independent vaults basically. Bitly I use to track links on social media, so that's really good. And WeTransfer to send large files. We use Canva a lot for social media designs. I would not use it for anything like print design, like a poster or a flyer. Our design team would use Illustrator or, you know, InDesign or Photoshop or something like that. And I said I won't teach you how to build websites, but here are some cool things that you could use. So to get some icons can really make a website look, you know, really like you've put a lot of work into the design. As you can see, these ones here are pretty cool. There are loads of here. I can send you this presentation afterwards, so you don't need to screenshot or write it down. But changing the icons on a website can make it look very, very different. Same with illustrations. Really, really useful if a client doesn't have any photos or images, or they're very shy and you want to keep it sort of away from using stock photos because sometimes they've been overused, or perhaps you've got to show a certain product and the stock photos don't have the right product, then perhaps you can find a way to use illustrations or something like that to overcome the problem. Again, there's a lot of lists there. A lot of them are free as well. And backgrounds can really change the way a website looks as well. So there's really, like Hero Patterns is great. It's got lots of repeatable backgrounds where you can just get the CSS for it. Very, very great for the loading times because it's only a very small amount of repeating pattern. Often SVGs as well. Some other options there for you. So backgrounds in particular, I love using textured backgrounds. So this is just a flat color. I think it looks fine. But this is a textured background where we've used a repeatable image. This was for a bike client, so it's a really clever way that our design team managed to link the background texture back to the original product. So if we just have a flat color, it looks fine. But if we use the background texture, we can link it back to the product and just really make it a bit more on brand. So after building comes marketing. If you guys aren't saying to your customers, how do you plan on marketing the website once it's built? You're missing a trick. Even if you don't want to touch marketing yourself, I'm sure there is somebody that you can build a relationship with, get a referral fee or something like that. Or you can use us if you want a referral fee. But there must be somebody you can use if you don't want to do it yourself. But if you do want to do it yourself, here's some useful tools. We're currently using eClincher for our posting because it gives us an approval process. So everything we post on social media, the client must have approved it for it to go live. And that is quite important to me in my process. But if you want to, that's a monthly fee. Hero Post is a one-off payment. You can get a lifetime deal on it. So might be better for some people. Meta Business Suite is free as well. You can also use that. We're using Tripify for our LinkedIn outreach, so sending people direct messages. We've had good success for our clients with that. And LinkedIn Sales Navigator to identify the leads that we're going to approach. And people always ask me, how often do you need to post on social media? So if you post 3 times a day, you'll get more traffic than once a day. So basically, the more you post, the better it is. We've got a client who has a very specific week in the year that's linked to their niche, and we post like crazy during that week. And we see the difference in the activity we get from likes, comments, visibility, reach, all those other things is significantly better. It's not like double the posts or double the reach or whatever. It's much, much better. So the more you post, the more traffic you get. There isn't such a thing as you're posting too much or something like that. You can post in Facebook groups that are active, and they'll easily get you to 8,000 views per month using this tactic. So if you're a web designer, perhaps you could be posting in local business groups, or if you've got a client who's a specific niche, find something that would relate to them. There's not just business groups, there's also local buy and sell groups or things like that that you might find useful. But have a look and look at the size of the group, how active they are, and then decide how often to post. Sometimes they limit, you can't post on certain days. So some of them might say you can post anything you want on a Monday, but the rest of the week you can't. So we keep a list of them in a spreadsheet. What I would say to you is if you do that and keep a list of the days that you can post, don't just click on the link in the spreadsheet because Facebook will flag that and eventually you'll get a soft block on your account. You have to wait a few days. So what I prefer to do is just go onto Facebook and actually type in the name of the group, press search, and then go in there. It's slower, but it's safer. So I would advise you to do that. And just to show you an example of a report we had, so I practice what I preach, you can see that this client here has had 8,000 views, and this is all organic. We haven't done any paid advertising. This is just from spending a few hours each month putting their posts in different sizes of groups. Some will be massive groups that are very generic, that cover the whole of the UK. Some will be very local and specific, and some will be niche based. But by covering a wide section of them, we usually get to about 8,000, and it's quite regular. It's not a one-off really. I know it's been an increase here, but we generally do get this quite a lot. So marketing tools for social media. Don't discount paid social media. It's very, very, very cost effective. We were running ads for an events company, and we were getting clicks through to the purchasing website for about 5p a click was the best we got it to. But even at worst, it was coming at 32p a click or something. So it was not very expensive. And we were able to get a lot for our budget. For like per each £100, we were getting quite good results. So definitely consider that for your clients if you're not. If you don't know what you're doing with it, feel free to give me a shout and I'll try and help you to decide what the best thing to do is. If you're doing SEO, you probably want to use these tools. The reason they're great is they'll do a lot of the heavy lifting for you and they will allow you to do a very quick report so you can give your client an idea of the sort of results that they can expect. So SEMrush has got loads and loads of tools in it now. It is quite expensive on the monthly fees, but if you get an SEO contract, just make sure you build that price into it. Again, you're building a website already. You're doing a lot of the technical work, hopefully, for SEO. The next step is just to build the content side of it. And this will help you to work out your keywords, work out which gets the most traffic, and which keywords to target and stuff like that. And again, if you've got any questions, just give me a shout. Interestingly, Google My Business, when you get reviews, somebody recently told me if you get above 60 reviews, they see quite a big difference in the amount of inquiries they get. So do really focus on getting all of your customers to leave you a review because over time you'll build it up. We recently went back to a lot of old customers and we got a load of reviews from that as well. So I advise you all to just stick with that. Email, I know it's a bit old-fashioned nowadays, but I would encourage you all to consider this part of your strategy, especially for existing customers, which are a brilliant way to get new business is by approaching existing customers. Hey, look, we've just added social media to our services. If you have any interest in that, give us a call or something like that. AC mailing's built into Joomla. I have to mention it, obviously. There are other ones I think that are better than that, but that is definitely a very cost-effective one. SendFox has a one-off cost, so if you're cost-focused, that might be a good one. MailChimp's very easy to use. ActiveCampaign is easy to use. What I will say is we did some tests, and ActiveCampaign had a lot better deliverability than MailChimp, so we actually had to switch a client from MailChimp to ActiveCampaign just purely on deliverability reasons. And then you've got Sendy, which is another tool. It's a slightly it's not that hard to set up, but it's slightly more technical than the others because you have to set it up. And it uses Amazon SES, which is really, really cheap. So if you have a massive list and you want to keep costs down to send, this would be a good option for you guys. For emails, what I would suggest as a quick tip is when you send an email out, send a second email to the people who didn't open the first email, because you will pick up a few extras, viewers or customers that way. I would normally say if you send it at 9 a.m. one morning, don't send the follow-up at 9 a.m. because if you didn't read it the first day, maybe they won't the second day. So maybe you either send it in the afternoon or a different time of day, but make sure you send it to the people who haven't opened only, not to the people who have opened. So I did have a little talk about AI after my last conversation, but what I would say is Yannick did a great talk on this at Joomla London, and he has this tool for AI, so I would really encourage you to look that up. Peter did a talk at Joomla London recently as well, so just follow the Joomla London YouTube channel and you'll see those talks. And Philip Walton has done loads of great articles on Joomla on the magazine. And here's some of the articles here. So if you want to screenshot it or afterwards I can send you the presentation. Highly recommend you reading them. Phil come up with loads and loads of good ideas for that. But from my perspective, don't use AI to write all of your content. Google has said not to, so we would never do that for our clients. Do use it to get ideas. Do use it to do research. You can even ask it for ideas to make reels and blogs and posts of stuff like that. You can use ChatGPT for it. I'm sure you've heard of it. I would say to you, here's an example. I've given you 10 witty statuses for about Joomla Day USA. But normally I would say go into a lot more detail, tell it the type of personality you want to use, tell it like how long you want the content to be, go into as much description as you can. You'll get more results by thinking about the question. You get better results. But so here's an example of me using a bit more of a description. But here's some ideas for you. Ask it, how can I make reels about Joomla Day USA? And it'll give you some ideas for that. You could take that further by saying, can you tell me a script for this particular reel? And it will actually tell you which shots to cut to, what to say, what sort of images to use and stuff like that. So this, I would say, isn't frowned upon by Facebook and Instagram because it's just using it to script something together. But writing the content fully in AI is frowned upon, so I definitely wouldn't do that. And here are some cool AI tools that I've found over the time. If you don't like the sound of your own voice, you can use this to generate one. Midjourney can make images for you. And Synthesia can make videos. Syllabi will do research and scripts. Neural Love will make images. A lot of this stuff is just made to like save you time basically and generate some interesting videos and images and stuff in a quicker way. Again, it's all in the presentation if you want a copy afterwards. And that is all. Any questions?
That was a lot to take in. Thank you.
It was, and I'm sorry if I talked quickly. I went through it because I wasn't sure how long we had left.
So he also had in there pricing, and that's been like a topic since our first comment at the beginning of this meeting, and something that the presenter last month talked about. And I also took a little bit away from that, and I have a big job that I won recently. And part of the proposal, we spread out the payments, but every milestone where they're supposed to approve something, they also get invoiced. And so that's something that Pat mentioned as well, is, you know, reaching out to them on regular intervals and getting paid for your work. And you mentioned it as well, getting paid for the section that you're working on. So we're all learning great ways to get paid in this group. So this is wonderful.
Honestly, I used to wait until the end of the project and then bill, and I had a few customers not pay me, and I really got annoyed because I'd done so much work. So now I take the money before each section. So by the end of the project, there's no way there's any money left on the table. If the client wants the project to complete, they've paid me up front. So I'm like before each section. So I'm much happier with this payment method than I was before, where I was losing money every now and then.
Yeah, I think we can all learn from that and make adjustments in our proposals. What do we got for questions, guys?
How do you say his name again?
Owen?
That's it. Gold star.
All right.
Come on.
Okay, I have a question. I noticed you didn't
a couple
use.
people talking. Mike, go ahead.
Oh, you didn't have constant contact on your list of emailing. Is there a
I
reason?
didn't. Yeah, I really don't like it. If I'm honest with you, I hate to do a service down, but I really don't like it. They have an office in London. They invited me up there to talk to them, and I went and met them, and they were nice people and everything. And I said, "Oh, can I put custom templates into Constant Contact?" And they said, "No, not really." And I said, "But that's how I make a lot of my money, so I can't really use the system." They may have changed it since then. It was a long, long time ago, but that was the main reason I stopped using it.
Uh-huh. And what about that PHP list? Has anybody ever used that? Because I have.
I haven't. Is it any good?
The system itself is good, but you're limited to most hosts limit you to sending like one email every 15 seconds and something like that. And so if you have 2,500 people on your list, it could take 8 hours. It's maybe you could pay more money to have them, change those parameters.
I would suggest that perhaps there's a way to set it up that you don't use your host and maybe use Elastic Mail or something like that.
Does what is it? AC mailing?
AC mailing will use PHP mail, but you can set it up with Elastic Mail and stuff like that. I would always try and protect your host from the burden of sending all the emails and also from being blacklisted, especially if you're doing cold emails.
Yeah.
They can use Amazon SES too. I have a client running AC mailing on Amazon and it works great.
Yeah, and so cheap, so definitely a good option.
Like $3 a month.
Yeah, for so many emails. Yeah, it's amazing.
I didn't have a question. I just wanted to say that was a great talk and I can't wait to see the presentation so I can look up a bunch of those tools.
Slow it down.
Right? Yeah, because I like everyone else, I was looking at it thinking, okay, the things I'm using aren't on your list. So I'm curious to see, what other things like the project management. I'm using Basecamp, which is
Yes, I've used it.
problematic.
I find ClickUp to be a bit more comprehensive than Basecamp,
Got it.
but it doesn't mean that you need to use it. Sometimes a tool can be too comprehensive and you just need something simple. So just use whatever works for you.
It depends.
But ClickUp is a really, really cool tool. So it's really quick. It's really easy to use. So yeah, check it out and see if you like it.
Yeah, no, that's great. I'm onboarding. I'm switched from Basecamp 2, which was Basecamp Classic, to Basecamp 4, and my team and my clients are having trouble with it. So I'm always looking for better tools. I think like a lot of people here. So yeah, thank you for that great presentation.
Yeah, no worries. I've tried loads of tools in my time, so I just tried not to be completely biased and only talk about the tool I use. So I listed some others, but there's so many people that are using Asana and all these other things, which they're all great tools. It's just whatever works for you, really.
So, Owen, you also mentioned that you do custom designs. So you do your own, you build your own templates to spec?
We design from scratch in Figma, and then we may use something like Utheme to build it, to be honest with you, because it's so quick to do that nowadays. We have built, I did a talk 1 year on building your own custom Joomla template. So we have done that before. I just find that in terms of building it from scratch, you can make your site fast. You can make it really quick, no overheads, no extra JavaScript that you don't need. All of this stuff you can strip out, which is great. But in terms of maintenance in the long term, it can be maybe less effective. You've got to remember to update any JavaScript libraries that you have used and keep it's not as well tested when you build a template from scratch as when you use one that's being used by millions of people. And also with Utheme, they don't have to be a developer to go and update things, right? They can just pop in and change the layout. So we do stuff like that, but we still designed it from scratch in Figma, and then we just make Utheme work to the design. We can still use all our kind of traditional process of naming classes with descriptive names and having a bit of like a code policy, basically.
Anyone else? We're right on time for finishing up.
Where can we get your deck?
Where can you get what? On my deck? I don't know. Robin, can you share it with them? Or in fact, I got it in Canva. I can just share it here, can't I? There you go. I'll share the read-only link.
Guess I'll grab it and I'll send it to the email.
There you go, guys.
Thank you.
Knock yourselves out. Yeah, good. Look, my details are on there. Give me a shout if you've got questions or you want any information about how do you do this, that, the other. You know, how do you do SEO? How do you do social media? Whatever you want to ask questions about, happy to answer them.
Well, I appreciate you coming to our meeting today, and hope you had a good time learning from members, and appreciate you taking the time to go through this. Hope to
Yeah,
see.
it's great. I've got to meet a few new faces, so nice to meet you guys.
Any final remarks?
Oh, it's a good little event. It's good to see so many as well that come to Joomla London and also come to this. It's really
Yeah.
good that we've got such a
We
global
have
audience
some
in Joomla.
serial juggers, I've heard. They go to all.
Yeah, Olivier is definitely one of them, and Mike. I've seen Mike a few times.
And Frank.
Okay.
Frank said he goes.
Yeah, Frank. Yeah.
I think we lose Frank. Very good attendance today, everyone. Thank you all, and we'll see you all next month.
Yeah, thanks for having me, guys.
Before we go, can I just share one little thing, Robin?
There you are.
And that was in the Nova Jug, the Northern Virginia. There's actually a tool, now I don't know anything about it, but it's a tool that will support Joomla 3 for $99, I think it was, until February 17, 2025. So if that's a need for anyone, maybe check it out. There it is in the chat.
Awesome. Thank you. Anyone else have any last minute remarks they want to share? All right.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
And for the new people, come on back to the next one. Appreciate having everyone.
See you guys. Thanks for having me.
Bye.
Bye.